I remember a note from the universe said this. It's like, no matter what happens, it's for your greater good. And that doesn't mean any crazy, wacky, bad stuff can happen. Nothing's random. But if something happens that's unpleasant, you are given the ability to understand how you are involved in its creation, its co-creation, and you are reminded of your power to never, for all eternity, to do that again. And so it's like everything that happens and everything that doesn't adds to who you are eternally.
Hello and welcome to Get Yourself Optimized. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer. It is my pleasure to have Mike Dooley with us. Mike is a New York Times bestselling author and creator of Notes from the Universe, which are read by 1.2 million people. His books have been published in 27 languages, and he's inspired live audiences in 156 cities across 42 countries. He was also one of the featured teachers in The Secret. Mike, it's so great to have you on the show.
Stephan, thanks for this opportunity and for all the great work you do.
Well, thank you for making such an impact in the world. Sharing light and love and inspiration for decades now, right? So, how many years has it been that you've been doing?
From very humble beginnings, the year 2000, dark night of my soul, starting over at age 40. It just kind of coalesced around me doing the stuff that now I teach in hindsight, have a vague general end result in mind, wealth, creative fulfillment, friends and laughter, international travel, and then show up, visualize affirmations, that stuff as well. But my gosh, yeah, the Notes from the Universe have been going out 23 years now. Many, many thousands have been written. Yeah, they were kind of like my nightlight, they kind of were my guiding light because I needed one so badly. And I wish somebody at the time was doing something like that on the internet. I used to have these little digital reminders, it's all illusions. All things are possible. You're pushed on to greatness. And so I started sending out messages like that from the universe, your higher self, God, whatever. For subscribers to kind of just, get that little pick-me-up when they maybe most needed it.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that you channel from the upper worlds or from God, or is this just your inspiration that...
Yeah, that's been a really frequent question all these years, back to 23 years ago when channeling was far less known than it is today. And the answer, of course, with a little bit of thought, is we're all channels. Everything is channeled. This conversation is channeled. It's not from the cells in my tongue or the brain. We are the instruments through which spirit pours through. As Matt Kahn, a friend of mine, says, most people are just channeling their ego. The lower thinking, lower vibrations. Still, that's pure spirit, and the ego has an important place in the scheme of things. We've just given it too much power. But deeper than that, am I able and have I ever channeled kind of beyond my normal awareness? I have to look back at some of the stuff I've written that's made me laugh out loud, or that's really humbled me with its potency. It's like, dang, I remembered so many times, most notes from the universe took and take anywhere from 2 to 6 hours for a single note. And instead of just, holding my breath and counting to 10 and, going into a trance, which is, very commonly done these days, I would hammer it out, type, cut, paste, curse, type, cut, paste, but then in the end it'd be like, oh damn, that is good. And other times it would come more quickly, but I'd always be guided. And this is like a metaphor or a small example for living deliberately, creating consciously, which is what I write about. I would hold in my mind, and still do when I work on anything creative, my ideal vision of what I was most after through the process that would follow, the creative writing process that would follow. And as I shared a moment ago, I advocate keep it general, keep it emotional. What I would most be after when I would write would be that, oh my God, that's so good. I can't wait to send it out. That feeling, if it's going to be that good, it's going to grow legs. It's going to have an afterlife. It's going to attract more subscribers. So all the things I really wanted could be encapsulated into that feeling of like, oh my God, that's it. I got it. So I would sit in my chair for 4 or 5 minutes max and just be like, oh my God, no idea what I was going to write about. I'm like, oh, hallelujah. And then as soon as I was done the little visualization, emotionalization session, which I do for money, I've done for money, for health, for healing, for love and romance back in the single days. As soon as you're done the visioning, you show up, you take action, humble baby steps, and if necessary, down sucky dirt paths, which will lead ultimately to the diamond mine. And so for me as a writer, that meant start writing. But I don't know what to write. Start writing anyway. But I have no idea. Hey, this is the universe. I was flying by the other day, just something stupid. And that would lead to a thought, to an idea, to a hook, to a punchline, and invariably I'd be like, an hour or 6 later, I'd be like, yeah. And, like I said, I do that for money, for everything else. What is it you want to feel? Keep it as general as possible. Wealth is okay. $10,000 by the end of the week. Don't micromanage. But, wealth and abundance, more than I could ever spend. Oh my God, can you imagine where we're going to go and what we're going to do, and really get into it, and then show up. You don't know what to do, show up. You have nowhere to go, show up. Write a note, do a Google, press the flesh, ask for help, get out in the world, and the miracles line up. It is astounding. I have such a blessed life now. I wonder sometimes in my still naive state, like, what did I ever do to deserve so much? Late blooming first time husband, 10 years ago now, late blooming first time dad, and
Congratulations.
joy, bestsellers, a career that I'm crazy about. It's just like, oh my God.
Okay, I got to tell you, since you keep saying this, almost every time you've said that phrase, "Oh my God," I thought in my head, I feel like I'm supposed to nudge Mike about this, and then you say the word or say the phrase. So you definitely are supposed to hear this story. It's a short one, but it's really powerful. So as a podcaster, I like networking with other podcasters. I go to Podfest and Podcast Movement and so forth. And this was at Podfest. I met another podcaster who works with angels. His name is Seph, S-E-P-H, Seph Dietland. And so we're friends. We've become friends. I saw him, I don't know, 6 months ago at the last Podfest event in Orlando. So we're chatting in person, and he starts saying, "Oh my God," and I get nudged from above to tell him that might not be the best thing to say, and it's like, oh, I feel like I'm an Enneagram 9, the peacemaker. I do not want to confront anybody. So it's uncomfortable. And yet they're pretty insistent that I tell him. And so as soon as I utter that, hey, just, about that phrase, and I say the phrase out loud. I spelled it for you, but I said it out loud. That was the first time I said it in 6 months, because I stopped saying it because my guides and angels have told me to stop saying it. It's disrespectful. And not that you have to live in this tiny little box and walk straight lines all the time. You got free will. You can do whatever you want. So it's my free choice whether I say it or not. but they're like, my higher self, you don't need to say that. It's just not that respectful. So I stopped and I never said it again until that dinner that we were sitting together and chatting. And as soon as I said it, my right ear started ringing, like tinnitus type ringing, like really loud, the moment I uttered those three words. And then I quietly apologized to God in my head, and it stopped immediately as soon as I apologized. And I shared that with Seth that happened, but I also shared with him that, hey, 6 months ago, I was getting nudged to stop saying it myself. So, your choice, what you do, but they've asked me to share that with you.
You were being nudged to bring up a point about using
that phrase. Yeah.
oh my God, because it's kind of negative, kind of like, oh, wow, things could happen to me.
No, it's like, it's not reverent. There are Orthodox Jews that don't even say God. They don't even write the word God. They put a dash instead of the O. I'm not that strict. I'm not like trying to police anybody, but sometimes I get nudged to say something about something or to suggest something, and it tends to work out to suggest it or to mention it. And because I get all these synchronicities all the time, I get confirmation like, okay, so that nudging, that wasn't just me imagining it, because every time I thought that thought, you said the phrase like 4 times while you were talking. So I'm like, okay, got it. I'll bring up the story. Got it.
Okay, so that I could not agree more about the power of words, and I could not agree more about the underlying implication, which would be that I'm not in control, or that anything could happen, or maybe an irreverence to what is so sacred every moment of our lives. But there's something that I have learned or come across, and I don't know because of the connection wobbling there, if this has total relevance to what you said, but it's absolutely one of my favorite talking points, Stephan. So if you let me go here, I'm all about thoughts become things. I shared those three words in The Secret. Thoughts become things, and I know that it is the only variable in these sacred jungles of time and space, what we choose to focus on. And our focus is given more power through the refinement down to words. And we think very often, almost always, unfortunately, in words, which can be very limiting, but that gives the words more power. But yet, like Mark Twain once famously said, I've had a lot of things to worry about in my life. Almost none of them came to pass. And it's like, what's up with that?
Yeah, I love the corollary to that, which my wife Ryan shared with me many times, which is worrying is praying for what you don't want.
That's true. It's very, very true. So, given that I share to audiences all over the world, at least before COVID, I was on a nonstop world tour for like 17 years, that it is an immutable law, as rigid and predictable as gravity itself, thoughts becoming things. But I would have these Mark Twain realizations, and which sent me on talk about receiving higher wisdom. I feel like I did, but it would send me on these quests of like, how could it be that it's so dependable, predictable, and utterly absolute? I hold by that and will forevermore. Thoughts become things. Yet, I've been a big time worrier, not just subliminally. I've been like, am I going to get fired? Is my girlfriend going to cheat on me? Is my luck going to run out? Even using the word luck, that's a bad word. And yet, I have gone from strength to strength. I have prevailed and prevailed again. I have had so many fears in my life, much less so once you know what I'm about to share. But I've had so many fears in my life. I mean, When I first found out about our powers, I was like, I'm doomed. I am literally doomed. I would have a runaway train of fear that I was going to get fired from Price Waterhouse, my first job out of university, and I could not stop thinking about it. And I would go to visualize that I'd be happy at work. And during my sacred 5 minutes of visualization a day, I'd wonder if the pink slip is really pink. And I'd be like, no, stop. And I simultaneously continued with the visualization anyway. I had affirmations. I put my best foot forward, and I soared at Price Waterhouse. I went right to the precipice, got transferred to tax, got a foreign assignment to the Middle East, lived in Cairo and Riyadh for 18 months, traveled on African safaris and Kathmandu and you name it. And I was a rock star at Price Waterhouse until I left 5 years after reaching the precipice. So, Mike Dooley, Mr. It's as predictable as gravity, what gives? And again and again and again and again. And so here's my answer. This is the answer that came to me, lit me up, swear by it to this day. Stephan, you and I are the eyes and the ears of God Almighty. And I don't mind saying that word. I say it with reverence. We are divine beings come alive in the dream of life because we can, because we could, because we knew we'd be safe, because we'd be loved and adored, because we'd be pushed on to greatness every day. And we were like, individually, although we're really one, we were like, I mean, there's only one, okay? We're all the same God force filtered through different lenses, as Ken Carey said in his phenomenal books. So we're like, metaphorically, individual tidal waves of magnificent rolling through eternity. And we're like, I could go here, I could go there, I could go everywhere, and I can do it all simultaneously. But where am I going to go now? And, here on planet Earth, this literal Garden of Eden, this bastion of perfection floating through the cosmos, the razor's edge of reality creation, we're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. And so, given our pure divinity, we're only purely divine, no matter what silly mistakes we make or faux pas or funny sentences. When we arrive here by choice from the zenith of our brilliance, knowing what we've wanted and knowing why we're going, and we're going to discover our greatness all over again. We're going to see the beauty through eyes that have never seen it before and have perspectives that the divine has never seen before. When we think a thought in alignment with truth, and truth is absolute. There's only one, there's only love. It's all good, playing to a greater good. We're all eternal beings. I mean, when we think thoughts in alignment with truth, typically called positive thoughts. But that's judgmental. I'm not getting into judgment. I'm talking about the very few absolutes that exist that hold reality together. Like I just shared, I think there's 4 or 5. Those thoughts go with the magnificence and the current of who we truly are. And it's a lot easier for them to become the things and events of our lives. When we think, I'm just dumb and getting dumber, old and getting older, what are the chances? God's angry, people are jerks. We're going to end up in heaven or hell. I have I have no control. My father abused me. My mother abandoned me. Those thoughts don't line up with the truth of who we are. I hate myself. I'm bad at math. All the things that we say. It's not fair. Those thoughts are lies. They're not true. And while we may gather some evidence, and I'm not excusing those, violators who have caused abuse, but that's a whole nother tangent. We're not going there now. When we think thoughts out of alignment with truth, which are very often called negative thoughts. Positive and negative. We know what we're talking about. In alignment with truth, out of alignment with truth. Those thoughts don't easily become the things and events of our lives. It's not, just like they say, it takes fewer muscles to smile than it does to frown. Well, it's true, okay? And it takes less effort to bring about a happy, joyful thought that's in alignment with the magnificence of who we are, divine 100%, than it does to bring about some negativity or something that's not in alignment with truth. It's now we can bring about anything. That's how powerful we are, and there is no judgment. That's how powerful and free we are. But this, for me, explains why, in spite of my lifelong fears and worries and trepidations and self-loathing and dark nights of the soul and wondering if I'd ever be happy again 23 years ago, um, by at least doing a little bit in the direction of dreams, mustering up a little bit of hope, creative visualization on a daily basis, usually for 4 minutes, vision boards, the occasional affirmations, moving with love, showing kindness, giving what I want to receive in the world. I have killed it. Now, that's not a great word to use either, but I have flipping killed it. I mean, I can't tell you how sweet my life is right now. I do everything that I want when I want, surrounded in love, family, and everything. And so, to summarize this lesson, one of my favorite lessons of my teaching career and in practice in my life, it's as if, Stephan, our so-called positive thoughts in alignment with truth, beauty, abundance, prosperity, reflective of our real nature, are at least 10,000 times, and that's surely an understatement, more powerful than our thoughts that are out of alignment with truth. And thereby we see the latitude with which we can play. We see the license with which we can create. We see the power which is reflected in the beauty and the love that brought us here. It wasn't half love and half hate that brought us here. It wasn't half strength and half weakness that brought. It was the full shebang, glory almighty in the highest. And so we've got phenomenal wiggle room. Look at some of the people in their naiveties and flat out ignorance who thrive, who make fortunes, who find love, who have the Midas touch. I mean, they're not the sharpest tools in the shed. I mean, if anything, but they had the audacity or the courage or the nerve or the brilliance, doesn't matter why, to think that they could prevail, succeed, be rich, be loved, love, find truth, create peace. And so, while, I am all for watching words and P's and Q's, if I say God, which is just another word for me, because there's only me and more me, including you, and there's only you and more you, including me, God's going to be like, there he goes again. Okay. Like be an indulged child. And the wiggle room, I mean, gosh, the wiggle room is insane when you simultaneously also put your best foot forward. You simultaneously also choose your words wisely. Then you're gathering the steam and harnessing the momentum of eternity to fulfill your birthright and destiny of all cups running over. So that's like one of my favorite things to talk about.
The thing that strikes me about this, and it's all beautiful and feels very true to me, two visuals that I was given while you were talking. One is the monorail. If you want to go off track, it's very hard. the monorail really keeps the train on its tracks. Another one is bowling with bumpers. Remember being a kid or having a kid learn how to bowl with those bumpers, blocking the gutters? That's the kind of wiggle room that we have.
It is that great and greater when you consider more. This is the same as a nighttime dream. And anything bad, icky, and ugly, you're gonna wake up and be like, oh, it was just a lifetime in space. Oh my God. Let's go back. and I'll be your wingman, and I'm going to remind you of the truth, and you'll remind me of the truth, and further, I remember a note from the universe said this. It's like, no matter what happens, it's for your greater good. And that doesn't mean any crazy, wacky, bad stuff can happen. Nothing's random. But if something happens that's unpleasant, you are given the ability to understand how you are involved in its creation, its co-creation, and you are reminded of your power to never, for all eternity, to do that again. And so it's like everything that happens and everything that doesn't adds to who you are eternally. And again, well, what about the time I was violated? What about, those are tangents. I'm happy to go down there, but it kind of, it brings the vibe down sometimes, but I'm happy to go there. But there are answers, and the answers would always reveal confusion, fear, your own, other people's, with an attempt to be alive in a sea of love, bathed in love, but completely unawares. And so while I say, well, anything could happen and it will add to you, that doesn't mean anything's going to happen. Okay? It's up to each of us what's going to happen in our lives.
So many people have this worst case scenario type of thinking. And how often do you hear folks imagining the best case scenario happening and said, well, this client just quit. I couldn't help it. It was their finances. They couldn't afford us or a bunch of other vendors anymore. But instead, we take it to the next level and think, well, what if the other shoe drops? What if my next biggest client also leaves at the same time or within a very short period of time? Do I need to brace for impact? What if simultaneously the government wants to audit me, or what? Like, you're just creating more and more focus on what you don't want. And we do that so well. We're so good at it. I'm good at it. I'm sure a lot of listeners are good at it too. And I want to develop work that muscle of best case scenario thinking. That's the first thing I go to instead of worst case scenario.
Yeah, no, I'm really good at that. I was better at it, but I used to be like, what if I have to sell my home? What if I have to sell my home and nobody's buying? What if I have to go back and get an hourly paying job? What if, I was good at that, yet I prevailed. And just knowing what I shared, that you're inclined to succeed, your default settings are already set through the roof in terms of finances, love, fulfillment. When you realize that your positive thoughts are at least 10,000 times more powerful than any other thoughts, you really can chill out. And now, if you try not to think of a polka dot pig, you're going to think of a polka dot pig. If you try not to worry, you're going to worry. So now, and I'll still have my little oh gosh, what's that? It's like, Mike, you just worry your little heart out. You just worry. It's perfectly okay. You worry. But for 4 minutes with a timer, I want you to sit down and pretend best case. Pretend everything's fantastic. Pretend you're crying happy tears. Pretend you're laughing like, oh my God, was I really that worked up? Just for 4 minutes. And then go back and worry. And call your brother and sister and see if they want to worry with you. Yeah, it's just serious, lots at stake here. You just worry your little heart. I would phrase it like this. There have been those times when I could not stop the runaway train of fear. Like when I thought I was going to get fired, when I thought my girlfriend was running around, and she was, when I thought I could not stop the runaway train of fear. But I have learned, and I would never tell anybody to stop it. It's not stoppable. But you can mitigate your own new fears by understanding this, and understand that while you cannot stop it, it's a scary use of words there, you can always simultaneously start another train running. So you just worry your little heart out, but over here, I want you to imagine best case. I want you to imagine that you don't even have a mortgage. I want you to imagine that everything's just working great and you're laughing with your friends in Tahiti. I want you to just do that. You can start another train simultaneously. It might be meek, it might be timid, it might be doubting while you worry full steam ahead. And those little timid thoughts will gain momentum by leaps and bounds, be expounded upon by divine intelligence. And then you show up down some of those little steps. Oh, that's the other magic bullet. Not a good word for spiritual conversation, but that's the other tipping point. When you start showing up, no matter how timid and no matter how sucky the path, I've learned this the hard way, the resources you need to ascend, change tracks, find your way will be added. Those resources are not added until you show up. If your car's in park, in that GPS journey, no matter how infallible, you're not getting there. And if your life's in park, no matter how much you're visualizing, you're not getting there. Because this contradiction of, the life of my dreams, but I'm going to wait for Oprah to call. It's like, she's not calling and she never will call. Life of your dreams, go do something about it. Even if it means, this is what I did and what I still teach to this day. Assess, and if you're starting over, dark night of the soul, like I was, assess your sucky options. And I know they suck. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this place. Assess your sucky options. Don't wait a week. Don't wait a month. What are your sucky options today? Whittle down to the 3 least sucky. Give yourself a deadline. And within a couple of days, you're knocking on doors. You're trying it out. You polished off your resume. And every day, every week, every month, every year, you're always assessing, what's my next best option? And rarely is it going to be life of my dreams. You don't even know what the dreams are. You don't know how you're going to get there. Don't micromanage. Divine intelligence knows how. You say, I want to be happy, rolling like thunder, soaring like an eagle, rich as can be, with lots of love. The universe is like, I know how to do that. You're me and I'm you. And I'm also 8 billion other people. I know who's going where and when. I know the trends. I know about AI. I invented AI. And I'm going to put you in the right place at the right time. If you just get your butt out the door down any sucky path, you will be raised. Not when you think, not how you think, not where you think, but unexpectedly as you make the best of what you have from where you are, doing what you can, which anybody has something to do. Just do that. You will be raised and delivered and your mind blown. It's just so freaking crazy. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is. It is fun. And you're spot on. It's more than 10,000 times more powerful to think positively or in alignment with the universe and universal laws and the truth. And the visual I get about that is a little match can light up an entire dark room, but a little bit of darkness cannot put out a fully lit room.
Oh, I love it. And that's such a great metaphor, both ways. The match and the darkness is like, that's who you are and who I am and who we all are. We are eternal beings of light. We are God Almighty come alive in the dream of life. I'm not from the shed. I'm not from the lower 40. I am pure divinity. And so are all of us. There's nothing that can't be purely divine. And it's just our nature to thrive. We didn't come here to be tested. We weren't put here to be tested. We came here to rock and roll and to discover it anew in an adventure where every day we fall in love, and in every day we're falling in love with, particularly when we know these things and we can just, brush ourselves off, shake off the fear, show up, make the best of what's in front of us, which is not settling for less, which doesn't mean better won't come. The best way to get rid of a job you hate is to master it, is to show up with a smile anyway. Show up 10 minutes early, stay 5 minutes late, say yes to everybody. Everyone wants some of that. Whereas the person who hates their job, they think nobody knows. Meanwhile, the UPS driver who shows up once every 3 weeks knows who that person is. Nobody wants to get near them with a 10-foot pole. But if you're just radiant and grateful, that doesn't mean everything's perfect in the terms of wanting to live deliberately and create consciously. But if you're just grateful what you have that we're here, that we're alive, that the sky is blue. Oh my, that people are waking up. It's like there's a lot to be grateful for. And that sets the stage for more. I think people are afraid to be happy because they feel like it's a cop out sometimes. Like, well, happy's not going to get me anything. If God, the universe sees me happy and I'm broke and happy and I'm alone, it'll be like, well, they're fine. I don't need to worry about them. He's so easily amused. It's like however happy you get, you're going to be happier. So you got to be here, you're going to be happier. You're going to be a magnet for all good things. Your whole worldview will change. Your thoughts and your feelings will be skewed to the wonder and the magic. Gratitude is like saying, I have received. And if you're in a place all the time of like, I have received, you're going to be given more because that just attracts. That's just the way the law of attraction works. So you become more of what you are, as Sarah Landon, my friend, says. She channels the counsel. You become more of what you are. You don't get what you want. You don't get what you need. You get more of what you are. So if you can put out like joy, you can put out and demonstrate wealth, splurge 5 cents on yourself, or not on every purchase, but, occasionally where you can budget it.
Take the express lane, the one that costs 50 cents. I did that today. I'm like, why not? It looks the same, and then turns out that there was a big congestion area for all the other lanes, but because I was in the expensive express lane, I just zipped right past it, and I didn't know.
Yeah, well, some part of you knew, so good job.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Speaking of which, it's like a game to me, like a video game where everybody's in on it, really, but we don't realize we're all in on it. And the book that comes to mind about that is The Little Soul in the Sun by Neil Donald Walsh. Are you familiar with that book?
I have that book, and it was just in my hands like 2 days ago.
Oh, funny. Well, no coincidences, right? So that book is such a joy to read to my son who's 4, and it's how the universe works. That if we remember who we truly are, then everyone else can remember who they truly are. But if we forget, then maybe they'll forget too, and we'll all be lost, and someone else will have to get sent in to help us all remember. So I take full responsibility for doing my part in remembering who I truly am so that I can inspire others to be and remember who they truly are.
Oh, that's so good and so well said. And it is just like a video game. I mean, it's just this holographic dream. And the best metaphor for me, well, the one I lean on the most is, comparing it to a nighttime dream. You know, we all know a nighttime dream is not real. We would all say that it is not real as we normally define reality. But for the person in the dream with racing heart and sweaty brow and God knows what other bodily functions taking place, that's real. That's total reality. But it's not. And that's exactly how we'll refer to this. And that's how, in other levels of our multidimensional existence, we do refer to this. But what a hoot. Let's go and dream together and think it's real, and we'll be at our own mercy as to how quickly we can wake up. And mercy is not the right word. We'll have the power with us every moment of every day to start waking up. And this is what's referred to as enlightenment. This is self-realization. This is soul integration. This is ascension. This is spiritual illumination. Those words are real. There is a process, and it's not one that, okay, you're not enlightened, now you're enlightened, game over. It's like this unending spectrum, no matter what realm or dimension or density you're from, they all say there's higher to go, there's higher still. But yet where we are in third, fourth density dimension right now, the lingo differs from teacher to teacher. It can be the trickiest and sometimes the most painful because we think life is happening to us. We think we're a mere bystander. We think, things are random. But the entire time we're creating it. We're just like we create a dream at night that we think is real. We're creating it. How? I don't know. I'll figure that out when I'm on the 9th level or whatever. And the same is true now. I don't know how I'm creating this conversation with you, but I am. And I'm also experiencing it simultaneously. What a riot. But there's always room for more joy and more levity and more laughter and more money, more whatever you want. And so why not go? Go, go, go. And in the process of going, following your heart, doing what you most want, these little pieces drop in and you're illuminated more and more and more, to the point where with Christ consciousness, as it's referred to, illumination, enlightenment, we will literally do the things that Jesus did. And I'm not a religious person. I have zero religion in my body. I'm a spiritual person. Recognize that Jesus was here, as were all the other prophets, who all said, we're not special. You can do what I'm doing. You can do greater than I'm doing. When you wake up to the truth, your vibration, your illumination will then be able to transcend the physical laws. Not that we're here to do that. We're not here to dream and to dispel the dream through illumination. But I think one of the things that I'm onto right now is adding this illumination just for the levity and the joy of it. And yeah, I wouldn't mind doing some of those miracles, but I'm not, every moment of our lives is pure miracle. I'm not trying to impress anybody, but it would signify a mastery over the illusions that we have been given dominion over, to bring it to bear. It's like, this is so cool. And then, as some of the channels I've spoken with have shared, that's when living begins. Then we finally have emerged from the caves, caveman, cave woman. It's not like become enlightened, game over. It's like become enlightened, start living. Living like we can't even imagine now in what are still very primitive times.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's beyond belief. It's just the monks in India that I got my first awakening experience from. They explained that God is an experience, not a belief. So if you have that experience of enlightenment, of joy, of bliss, of all the things lining up for you. I think of that movie Bruce Almighty, where he kind of swishes his hand, and all of the busyness of Manhattan and all the cars they all just whooshed away and all parked, and he had free reign to just drive unimpeded down one of the streets in Manhattan. Like, that's what is possible for us, but that's not the point of it. It's just power beyond belief, but we're here experiencing life, experiencing experience, and it is joyful. And when it's not joyful, we're caught up in the illusion. We've bought into the lie, and I've had plenty of occasions of that. Lots of dark nights of the soul for me. And speaking of which, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your story of what happened in 2000.
Sure. Well, I was with today's PricewaterhouseCoopers, for 6 years, CPA, tax consultant. Wanted to be an entrepreneur, quit cold turkey, moved to Orlando for 10 years. Mom, Andy, and I ran a business and sold boatloads of our own brand of t-shirts, totally unique t-shirts, tut.com. That's where that came from. It's still my domain name. It evolved into Totally Unique Thoughts. We sold, the three of us sold $10 million, $1 million a year for 10 years. But the trends were declining in the last couple of years so severely that it was like, let's wind down while we're still ahead. And so we did. Our leases were expiring fortuitously at around the same time. We already bought Mom out. Andy and I were fighting. We're like, split the pie, at which point I could coast financially for about 2 years. That's with my accountant's visor on. I did all the numbers. 39 turning 40. The love of my life at the time, record-breaking long-term relationship for this up until then, lifelong bachelor. We were approaching our 10-month anniversary. And yeah, my girlfriend, I found out she had a boyfriend, and it wasn't me. And as much as I like telling the story now, I was sick. I was nauseous. I was inconsolable, and starting over my career, not knowing what I was starting, didn't have a tunnel to look for a light in. And I was like, what? I mean, 10 years removed from public accounting, don't want to go back into the t-shirt business, turning the big 4-0, which used to be intimidating. Now it's, kiddie stuff. And I was like, what happened to my life? And I would think it was pretty damn good. I lived all over the world, hardship bonus, international airfare, lay flat sleeper seats before they were the cool thing. And it's like, and I didn't have a relationship, never had a family of my own, poor me. And I was getting old, so I thought. So I started sending out because I wanted to receive them as I shared these notes from the universe. They were messages from Mike, emails from Mike in the beginning, which were never very popular, Stephan, I have to tell you. But they were something that I could do. I had the time on my hands. Little nuggets of insight, metaphysically inspired, because our T-shirts, which we sold like gangbusters for long enough, were all about thoughts become things, choose the good ones, believe in your dreams, and blah, 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 with my brother's killer art. And so for 10 years, I was writing for T-shirts, but I started writing emails. And that's not a business model. Well, I mean, I wasn't making any money. I dabbled with public speaking, thinking, if you like to write about this stuff, why don't you speak about it? But that terrified me. So I joined Toastmasters, shook like a leaf on a tree, totally went blank in front of my first Toastmasters audience of like 11 people. Harrowing 4 minutes, I will tell you. I wondered if they could see my heart. It was beating so hard. That's how scared I was of speaking. But one thing led to another. I did what I could with what I had. I asked questions. I asked for help. I learned internet marketing. I stumbled into affiliate marketing. I created e-cards with my brother's art and my metaphysical sayings. As I sent out the emails evolved into notes from the universe. And from that point forward, the just explosive subscriber base. I did an audio program with a professional speaker who bailed before we recorded one word, at which point we had already pre-sold it. I had already sold $5,000 to my subscribers. So I was like, panic, nightmare. I cobbled it together and created Infinite Possibilities, the Art of Living Your Dreams. It went on to become an internet rage in the early 2000s. I had full page ads in physical print magazines for my little, recorded in my home in my boxer shorts in Florida, not running my air because I was afraid of running out of money program. And then because of that and the emails, all of a sudden, all these things, the emails, the notes, the speaking announcements, I'm going to be at a Unity church, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be there, to my subscribers. I got an email from a fan, Rhonda Byrne, didn't know her, she didn't know me. I'm coming to the US to do a documentary on the law of attraction. Me and my sister are big fans. We love your work. We have infinite possibilities. Can we interview you? I thought they wanted me to fund it. I was like, what? What do you want? I was getting a lot of invites, and she said, no, this is real. We'll fly you to Chicago, first class, meet you for 4 or 5 hours shooting session. We got makeup team, this, that. That's how I got in The Secret. I was like, what's the secret? She said, it's the law of attraction. I'm like, no, it's thoughts become things. But it's her movie, so she got the law of attraction. We had different ways of saying the same thing, but my speaking turned into world tours just by announcing it to my own Notes from the Universe subscribers. Hence, I was touring nonstop for about 17 years. Granted, I would be home more than away, but I'd go out and do 2 cities in a weekend, come back for 2 weeks, go out and do 2 cities, come back, go out to do Europe for 2 weeks, come back, go to Australia, South America, Asia. My love life improved significantly. Met my wife in Puerto Vallarta. After The Secret came out, I was invited to speak there, headlining with Don Miguel Ruiz of the Four Agreements. 3 days, we hung out with the participants, met this senorita who spoke 0 English. I spoke 0 Spanish. We, in hindsight, realized this is solid gold for a new relationship, and got married. Have a daughter who's 9, and Hay House, Simon and Schuster, New York Times bestsellers. It's like it's almost crazy. It's almost crazy, except it's not. This is there for everyone, no matter your age, no matter your fears, no matter your expertise, no matter your degrees or pedigrees. It's like your thoughts become things. You're inclined to succeed. You're pushed on to greatness. It's your nature. So have your dreams, do something about it. Don't be embarrassed, even though those steps might be embarrassing in the beginning. They were for me, and prepare to be astounded. That's the short version.
Oh, well, amazing! Congratulations on all the beauty and the joy and the miracles. It's amazing. And you said earlier nothing's random. I'm curious to hear what your take is on whether things like being a part of the Secret movie was not just a divine setup, but like a soul contract where you and Rhonda, before incarnating, decided like, hey, I'm gonna shoot this movie, and it's gonna be really big, and you're gonna be one of the subject matter experts, and one of the key talent in the movie, and we're gonna do this collaboration, and you're gonna do that, and so forth. And I'm just curious, what's your take on that?
Words fail trying to speak to reality, given in large part we speak them on a linear timeline, and time's an illusion, it's like, and they're so finite. But so time is happening simultaneously. So are there ancient contracts, or are there pre-life contracts? Yeah, but we rewrite them every single day. My infancy and my old age and my age 40, it's all happening simultaneously. So how do I parse that? I would say, all of what you said, I think, plays into it. But it's not like any contract could ever be written in stone, or otherwise it would defeat thoughts become things. It would defeat the law of attraction. We are streaming manifestors. And wherever our focus is, which is summation of our expectations, intentions, feelings, desires, and fears, the confluence of all of that, that's what we're showing. And whatever we have the ability to change, whenever we have the ability to change that, including core root beliefs, we literally change our past and change our contracts. So are me and Rhonda and the other contributors connected? Yeah, but it would require everyone's approval, not just us, but the audience. And it would require me on a linear timeline maintaining the faith, and me showing up, and me doing my part, and everybody else doing their part. And if I had bowed out, well, then boom, somebody else would have shown up, and it'd be like meant to be. Well, we're all one. We are literally all one. And so when you parse it down like that, I think it starts to kind of come apart a little bit. Although metaphors like reincarnation and spiritual contracts and karma itself can be handy and help explain more than they confuse, in the end, it's really tricky to kind of dress it up neatly. I did share, and this is equally flawed, but I remember in my audiences following The Secret, because I was doing my first world tour before The Secret. I had infinite possibilities before The Secret. That's how Rhonda found me. That my vibe was, reach untold people with the truth, that we are powerful and life is beautiful, and be demonstrating it as I go. When I met Rhonda and her sister in Chicago live for breakfast before filming, she told me her intention was literally, what a crystal clear intention: bring joy to billions. And I never forget it. And she would say it all the time: we're bringing joy to billions. Well, my vision was complementary to her vision, and the universe takes over. And what I don't want to take away. I don't want somebody to take from this like, well, that's not, what is my vision? What is my intention? It is what you say it is today. So it's like your vision today, anybody's vision today will rearrange your stars and rearrange your future and rearrange your past in ways that will be invisible to you, so that all of a sudden it's like, oh God, it feels so meant to be. And you'll find evidence that it was meant to be. And look, it's in your zodiac chart too. Even though before you made the new intention and started raising your own vibe, filled with self-doubt and occasional self-loathing, that's okay. You're inclined to get this. You never would have thought to look at your zodiac chart to find the evidence that this could happen. So the great news is, raise your sights, shoot for the moon. And whether that's financially, nothing unspiritual about that, or to be of service, or you call it, you write your ticket, raise your sights, be congruent with it in thought, word, and deed. Show up. Don't know what to do. So what? Show up. I don't care if you go bowling. Show up. Get out into the world. You will be a lightning rod for new ideas, epiphanies, new players to enter your life. You might meet that person who's just boring as hell, but in 2 months they're going to invite you to the office Christmas party where you will meet Mr. Goodbar or Mrs. Goodbar, and it'll be like, oh, the miracle was when I met the person who didn't thrill me, but I made the best of it. I smiled, we had a few dates with tea. I did what I could with what I had from where I was, and the universe will connect these dots to create a masterpiece that will take your breath away. So you might not have yet the ancient spiritual contract with Rhonda Byrne or somebody else, to your audience watching right now, but there is one waiting for your crisp signature that will be retroactive once you raise your vibe, your sights, and move with joy, given that we live our lives in paradise.
So well said. And what a great way to end this episode. If you show up, we live in a world of action. Who knows what kind of magic you can create? Just give it a shot and see where it goes. And if our listener or viewer wants to read your books, attend your events, and follow you, all that sort of good stuff, where do we send them?
Yeah. TUT.com, TUT, The Universe Talks is now what it stands for. The Universe Talks. And there they can get notes from the universe, which will inspire them for free 5 days a week. And they'll also find out about everything else we do at the website or through the notes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mike. This was such a joy and a pleasure and an honor. You're such a bright light in the world. Thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Stephan, for this opportunity and for the great work you do.
Thank you so much. And so now, have a great week, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next episode. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, signing off.